We have a tendency to make assumptions to fill in gaps of information. And usually this creates a heck of a lot of drama. Hi there, this is your Mindfulness Sherpa, Sierra Ram Cantrell. We are here in the book club. We are talking about the 4 agreements. We are Painted Porch Strategies. I'm joined by Amy Yakowski, our CEO, and Rob Hunter, our MC. Hey guys, how's it going? So,
going well.
I'm already taking notes.
I am going to assume, Sierra, that things are going well for you.
Oh, things are hopping right along. So we are on the 3rd of 4 agreements. So let's just recap for a second here. The first agreement is be impeccable with your word. Your word, either what you say or with your actions. You want to do it what you can not going against yourself. You are trying to go to yourself and be accurate and authentic with your word. The second, don't take anything personally. I know this is a tough one. You choose to let in what you want to let in. All right. We are today talking about don't make assumptions. An assumption is sort of like a guess that you're making. Maybe you fill in some gaps of information. He is saying this is the way to hell and confusion and stress and drama. So don't make assumptions. What do you guys think?
Well, I love that first and foremost, right out the gate, he says the problem with assumptions is that we believe them to be true. When there's something that we are uncertain about, that we're unclear about, maybe we're not quite sure, we haven't fully read the situation fully, or we have gaps in our own understanding or beliefs, we use assumptions to fill in the blanks. And sometimes it's helpful if you're in a fight or flight situation, you got to assume, okay, turning right is going to be a good choice for me. I'm going to assume going right is good. But the problem is that we believe that to be true. And that is where we get into trouble because we make assumptions, we believe it to be true, which we then take it personally. We break rule number 2, and then we blame that person and react to what we assumed was happening when we in fact don't even know what the reality, we don't know what the truth is.
It's a perfect context is in a relationship. Imagine the person you spend the most time with. You think you know them really well. So you assume that they're going to clean the dishes. And when they don't clean the dishes, you're like, what the hell? Why did you clean the dishes? I know you so well. I assumed that you were going to clean the dishes because you always clean the dishes. Yeah, well, I had a lot on my mind today. Whoa. So, you can get awry with those assumptions, which is his point, which is why you should never do them. So you never verbalize, because an assumption in this case is an expectation. I expect you to do this. And then when you don't do it, I get mad or frustrated or annoyed or whatever, fill in the emotion. That's what he's talking about. You can avoid all of that by either saying, hey, are you going to do the dishes or would you like me to do the dishes? Or, hey, how come you didn't do the dishes? Or whatever. You don't want to sound insulting to your partner. Like, why didn't you do the dishes? But, you talk about it. You don't assume.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he talks about the you should have known. You know me, so you should have known, right? You're assuming that you should have known something or made an action based on that. It's taking it personally, right? Did I take it personally that you didn't do the dishes? When really it had nothing to do with me. This whole section reminded me, Rob, so much of your program, Master Your Message, because he says, when you do not ask for clarification, that is when an assumption is made. And this brings you right back into that hell state, into the drama, into the problems.
Yeah, this whole section was focused on communication. We always hear, oh, what's the secret to a happy marriage? Or what's the secret to, we get asked that all the time. I'm sure you do as well, Sierra, with your husband, Chris. What's the secret? And we always say communication. You have to be willing to talk to one another because we are not mind readers. If you are a mind reader, kudos, great, good for you. Take that out on the road. But 99.9% of us are not mind readers. And that should We talk a lot about that when we talk about our stoicism, and we did our 52 weeks of stoicism, how shoulds are the source of so much frustration and disappointment. You can should all over yourself and should all over your relationships in your life by assuming that someone knows how you think, knows how you feel, even if you've known them for your whole life, or like for Rob and I, we've known each other over 20 years. I still can't read his mind. He still can't read mine. Yes, there is a certain level of understanding of how we behave or how we think, but not on a day-to-day, situation-to-situation basis. We have to communicate. We have to be willing to ask questions to get clarification. Else, yes, we are going to should all over each other and shoot our relationships in the foot.
You're asking me to add?
I'm just saying, you're our MC, you're our master of communication. This is your bread and
Yeah.
this is like your sweet spot right here when it comes to assumptions.
Okay, you just assumed that I was going to talk about that. So there's a perfect example for you. But it does come down to this, as Sarah just mentioned, right? So Master Your Message is a program I've created with 20 plus years of experience in the communication industry known as broadcasting. A lot of journalism, a lot of asking questions, a lot of interviews, a lot of assumptions that you assume, say, a politician in the area that I cover is saying something for whatever reason. And maybe that's not true. Maybe they're just trying to survive their next reelection. There's all kinds of different ways that we assume in our lives. Probably do it the most at work too, and at home, because those are the areas we spend the most time. So naturally, it's what you think about most. So naturally, you're trying to close some gaps. Those gaps can be closed not by you guessing, but by you asking, but by saying, hey, wait a second, I noticed you did that. Why did you do that? And you do it in a nice way, a kind way. And you find that when you ask questions, you communicate from curiosity, you'll get an answer. And the more questions you ask, the more honest the answer becomes. At least that's what I found.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have an assumption, ask a question. So that would be, I would say, he doesn't go into tools, but I'll give you a tool. So if you are making an assumption, if I'm going to assume that Amy is going to do the dishes, why don't I just ask her if she's going to do the dishes? Hey, you're going to do the dishes?
Probably not.
Okay. Yeah. So, but at least now I don't assume she's going to do it. Now I know she's not going to do it. And then I have a decision to make. Are we going to let the dishes sit there, or am I going to do them?
Are we going to rock, paper, scissors it? What's the plan here? But it goes back to how we believe our assumptions to be true. And he talks about here that so often we're afraid to ask for clarification because we don't want to be proven wrong. We want to defend that assumption, even if that assumption is a complete narrative story that we made up in our mind about why someone's mad at us, why someone didn't call us, what did that text mean? It sounded like they were being short with me. It's text, you're kind of supposed to be short, but it's all that misinterpretation. We take that misinterpretation and we run with it full tilt, as opposed to stopping and asking, hey, you know what? I just want to be clear. I may have misunderstood this, or can you clarify for me X? And it's having the courage to ask the question and have that communication to get that clarification, or else your assumptions are going to run away with you and run away with your relationships and the stories that you create in your mind.
So he, at the end of this chapter on the third agreement, he claims that if you are a clear communicator, all of your relationships will change, not only with your partner, but with everyone else. When you don't need to make assumptions, everything becomes so clear. And he claims that if all humans did this with it being impeccable with their word, that there would be no wars, no violence, no misunderstandings. He believes that if we were able to have good, clear communication, all of the problems would be resolved. Now, I cannot say if this is true or false, but the idea is fantastic. And the best way to execute an idea is to start with yourself and don't make assumptions. That is our third agreement. Please let us know in the comments what you think. Is this something you think you can do? Third agreement, don't make assumptions. Stay tuned. We've still got another agreement to go. Cheers.